So this is going to be one of the handouts that you had. I don't think I'm going to make both videos, so I'm sure it should come in handy for tomorrow's quiz. If you actually see this video. So determine if it's a unit rate or not. So that's not a difficult thing. So we have three rates here. So 5.5 feet per minute. So this is definitely a unit rate because we're comparing it to 1 minute. So it is, right? So 3/4 of a mile every 1/10 of an hour. It's not a unit rate because if that was 1 hour, then it would have been. So it's not a unit rate. And $22.50 per gallon or per 1 gallon. That's definitely a unit rate because we're comparing it to 1, right? To 1. So that's the easy part. Bottom, we want to change these unit rates. We want to find the unit rates. I apologize. So again, So we're gonna want 1 teaspoon of oil, right? 3 cups of flour for 1 teaspoon of oil. So I want to make this 1 teaspoon. So we're going to divide this, times this, right? 2/1 at the bottom, right? And then at the top, the same thing as 2/1. So I'm gonna write flour over here. And so this one says 1 teaspoon. So if I have 1 teaspoon, how many cups of flour would I have? You can multiply 3/4 times 2, and I'm going to do over here 3/4 times 2 for 2/1. You get 6/4, which simplifies to 3/2, which you can simplify to 1 and 1/2. So 1 and 1/2. And actually all that should be over here, so I'm just going to clean it up. So 1 teaspoon. So when you have 1 teaspoon of oil, you will have 1.5 cups of flour. And that's my unit rate. Okay. 3/4 of a mile in 1/4 of an hour. So let's say you walk or run or drive 3/4 of a mile in 1/4 of an hour. How much? So again, so the unit rate means at the bottom, instead of 1/4 of an hour, I want to change it to 1 hour, right? And this the top one's going to be mile. So how do we make that change? Well, it's 1/4, so we're going to multiply this by 4/1 at the bottom, right? And then we're going to times this also 4/1 on the top. So 1/4 times 1/4 times 4/1. If you think about it, it's 1 times 4, which is 4, and 4 times 1 is 4. So that 4 divided by 4 becomes 1, or if we cross cancel here, right? All that leads to 1 hour. On the top, we get 3/4 times 4, and that's going to become, if you multiply the top, 3 times 4 is 12. And on the bottom, 4 times 1 is 4, and we can simplify 12/4 to, that simplifies to 3, right? And that's what we have on top. So when you walk for 1 hour, that means you're going to go, your distance traveled is 3 miles. Okay, so again, 3 1/4, and we're going to do, I think what Angeline did in class today when she changed this, right? She made it into a improper fraction. So let's change that. So 1.5 becomes 2 times 1 is 2, 3/2 miles, right? And at the bottom, 3 1/4 is 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1, 13/4 hours. So, right, so I just changed that to mixed numbers to improper fractions. So now I'm going to, again, our objective is to find out in 1 hour what's the distance traveled, right? So it's much easier if it's in a improper fraction. And we're going to multiply that times 4/13, right? And we're going to do the same thing on the top and multiply that by 4/13. At the bottom, everything crosses out and it becomes 1, right? So 13/4 times 4/13 is going to give us that 1 hour that we're looking for. And on top, 3/2 times 4/13 is going to be, let's see, 6/13 mile. All right, so right, and that's our answer. Next one, the recipe calls for 3 1/4 cup of brown sugar for every 2. So how many cups of brown sugar are used per 1 cup of white sugar? So we want to know what happens when we have 1 cup of white sugar. how many of the brown sugar do we have? So white sugar is going to be at the bottom. So right now we have 3/4 of brown for every 2/3 of white. So every time we have that much brown sugar, we use this much white sugar. So we want to know what happens when there is 1 cup of white sugar. How many cups of brown sugar will we have? Well, we're going to multiply that by 3/2. Multiply the top by 3/2. The bottom one gives, right, this all disappears. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. And 6/6 is just 1. That's how we get our 1. On the top, 3/4 times 3/2. We can just multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 2 is 6. And that simplifies to 3/2. And 3/2 becomes 1 and 1/3. So every time I have 1 cup of white sugar, I'm going to have 1 1/3 cups of brown sugar. Okay, Lauren bikes 1 1/3 miles in 1/10 of an hour. What's the rate of speed in mile in 1 hour? So we want how far can she travel in 1 hour? So in 1 hour, what's the distance that she travels? So hour is going to be at the bottom for us. Okay. So again, 1/10 of an hour. And over here, I'm going to change 1/10 of an hour, and I'm going to change the 1 1/3 miles to a improper fraction. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1, so this is going to be 4 1/3 miles. It's just going to be easier for our calculations. So what do we times this by? Well, let me write miles here. I'll multiply this by 10 over 1, if you like, and then obviously 10 over 1 on the top. So we multiply it by the reciprocal. So this, because 1 times 10 is 10, right? And at the bottom, 10 times 1 is 10. And isn't 10 over 10 just 1? And that's how we get our 1 hour. On the top, 4 times 10 is 40. And then 3 times 1 is 3. So we get 40 over 3. And then if we change that to a mixed number, 3 goes into 40 13 times, which is 39. And then you have 1 left over 3. So if Lauren continues biking for 1 full hour, how far is she going to go? 13 1/3 of a mile. Okay. A novelist can write 2 1/4 pages in 3/4 of an hour, express her writing speed as a unit rate. So this one, simple enough. So we want the writing speed. So let's write it. So 2 1/4, I'm going to change that to 9/4. She can write 9/4 pages in 3/4 of an hour. So the unit rate means what can we do, or what can she do in 1 hour. So let's change that to 1 hour. Right, it's a little bit easier to understand. So we're going to multiply this by the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3. And on top, the same thing, multiply by 4/3. So if you use a calculator, multiply it out. 3 times 4 is 12. Right, so 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 3 is 12. And 12 over 12 is just 1. And that's how we got our 1. Right, so we can, or you can crisscross everything. And on top, 9 times 4 is 36. So can we simplify anything? This is going to, well, I'll just do it. 36 over 12. And what's 36 over 12? Which is just the same thing as saying 3. So on the top, I'm going to write. No, wait. 9 times 4 is 36. Yeah, 3 pages. That's correct. So she can write, a novelist, or he can write 3/4 of an hour. In 3/4 of an hour, he can write 9/4 pages, or in 1 full hour, he can write 3 pages. Again, same thing. Oliver reads 28.5 pages of a book. So I'm going to read that. I'm going to change that to an improper. 2 times 28 is 56. And we're going to write that as 57 over 2. It's the same thing. And at the bottom, he can read all that in 1 1/6 of an hour. Again, I'm going to change that to an improper. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 1, so it's 7/6 of an hour. So he can read all those pages in 7/6 of an hour. Well, we want to find out how much can we read in 1 hour, right? Let's change that. 7 over 6. We're going to multiply that by 6 over 7 and multiply this by 6 over 7. Here we already know, so again, I'm going to just do that. That's how we get a 1 hour. On top, we can multiply 57 times 6 and then 2 times 7 at the bottom 14 and get a number, or let's see if we can crisscross everything. Well, let's go multiply. This is going to be 14, and then 2 carry 4, 342. So in now 1 hour, he can read all that. Let's simplify that to a mixed number. I'm going to put that over here. So 342 divided by 14 equals 24. So he can 24 times 14 equals 336, and we're going to get 6 left over, 6 over 14. So in 1 hour, you can read 24 and 6/14 pages. And actually, 6 over 14, I'm going to change that to 3/7 because that can be simplified, right? Again, 3 over 7. Okay. Back page. John Summer Baseball League has 36 13-year-olds and 48 13-year-olds. Write the ratio of 13-year-olds to 14-year-olds in all 3 forms. Well, we want the order matters, right? So how many 13-year-olds we have? We have 36. And how many 14-year-olds? We have 48. So that's our ratio, right? So we can write it like this. We can write it like this. And we can write it like this. But notice that none of these matches what I have here because it's in simplified form. So I'm going to take 36 over 48. I'm going to simplify that. So we can divide this by 12. We get 3. And divide 48 by 12. We get 4. So instead of 36 over 48, I'm going to write 3 over 4, 3 over 4, and 3 colon 4. And that's our answer. Number 2. In the past 3 years, Federico's basketball won 30 more games than they lost. What was the ratio of wins to losses? If they won 130 games, how many did they? Well, if they won 130 games, how many did they lose? Well, so just let me write win, and then lose, loss. Well, they won 30 more than they lost. So if they won 130, it means that they lost 100, right? So that's the ratio between win to loss. But again, if you look at all our multiple choices, none of it matches, and we have to simplify this. So let me write this as a fraction. And 130 over 100, divide top and bottom by 10 is 13 over 10. So we're going to look for 13 over 10, 13 to 10, and 13 colon 10. So those are the 3 that we want to look simplified. And do we have any of that? One of them should match. 13 to 10, 13 to 10, letter A. Okay. And the previous one, it was 3 to I forget what it was. It's 3 to 4, right? So 3 to 4, 3 to 4, so letter A again for that one. Okay, order does matter. All right, at a conference, there were 121 math teachers and 11 science teachers. Jeez, conference. Write the ratio of math teachers. So there's 121 math teachers to 11 science teachers. So that's my ratio. In simplest form, 1121 to 11, we can simplify this. Right? We can divide top and bottom by 11. Divide by 11, divide by 11. So I'm going to get 11 to 1. 11 math teacher for every science teacher in a simplified form. So 11 over 1, or 11 to 1, or 11 colon 1. So the answer is C. Okay, which is different than 1 to 11. Okay, so please, it's math to science. And that's your answer. 4. Larry took 22 minutes to do 13 more, what do you call? Well, let's do Larry over here. So Larry took 22 minutes. Sorry. Which student did more per minute? So minutes going to go at the bottom, okay? So Larry did 13 problems in 22 minutes. The other guy, Mary, lady, she did 12 math problems in 24 minutes. So who did more problems per minute? And that's not that difficult of a question. We want the unit rate, right? We want to use the unit rate to compare. So this one, let's do Larry first. So Larry over here, we want to do how much he did in 1 minute. Well, let me divide that by 22, right? I'll divide that by 22. So Larry, we're going to divide 13 divided by 22. And that's going to give us rounded 0.59 problems. So in 1 minute, he can do about a little bit more than half of a problem. Mary, you're going to divide this by 24. I'm going to divide this by 24. And in 1 minute, if you divide 20 by 24, you're going to get a half. She can do exactly half of a problem in 1 minute. So who does a little bit more? Larry, because he does just a little bit more than half. So the answer is Larry. 5. Jeremy can jog all that. What's his how average speed per hour? So how? Again, that's the clue for us to decide what we're going to put at the bottom. We want the unit rate per 1 hour. So in 1 hour, how far can he jog? So first of all, we have, I'm going to write 1 1/3 miles in 1/4 of an hour. I'm going to change that. 1 1/3, 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. So we're going to write 4/3 of a mile in 1/4 of an hour. I'm just going to change that mixed number there into an improper fraction. Now, the other thing I'm going to do now is going to find out how much can this guy run in 1 hour, right? So we need to find the unit rate. So 1/4, we're going to multiply that by the reciprocal, which is 4/1, which means I multiply the top by 4/1. So this gets me my 1 hour. On top, I get 16. 4 times 4 is 16 over 3. Right? I'm going to write over here, 16 over 3. And 16 over 3 is, as a mixed number, 3 goes in 16 5 times. 1 left over 3. So in 1 hour, Jeremy can run 5 1/3 miles. And here's my answer. 6. You can get 600 calories from 40 calories from eating 8 apples. How many calories can you get from eating 1 apple? Seriously? Okay, again, 600 calories for 1 apple. For 8 apples, I'm sorry. We gotta find the unit rate. So what about how many calories is for 1 apple? Well, divide by 8. Divide by 8. And 640 divided by 8 is 80. So each apple is 80 calories for 1 apple. Do we have that? Yeah. 80. 7. Ignacio is going on vacation. He needs to drive 579 miles in 8 hours. What is his average speed in miles? So again, we want our unit rate. So he does 579 miles in 8 hours. And we're going to put hours at the bottom because we want the unit rate in per hour. So 8 hours, right? So 579 in 8 hours. In 1 hour, how far can he drive? Well, how do I get to 1? Divide by 8. So I'm going to divide the top by 8. And 579 divided by 8 equals 72. Uh-oh. 579 divided by 8 equals 72. I got 72.38 miles an hour, which matches none of the multiple choices over here. So I'm going to write E, 72.38 miles. Unless I'm doing something wrong, that's what I'm getting from my calculator. 579 miles in 8 hours. We want the unit rate, so 1 hour divided by 8. I don't know why it keeps divided by 8. Yep, that's what I got. So for 7, none of them are correct, and the only correct answer is letter E, which I just put, 72.38, rounded to the nearest hundredth. Number 8. Determine whether the ratios 8 over 12 and 10 over 18 are proportional. Well, let's look at 8 over 12, and let's look at 10 over 18. So they're proportional, okay. Are these the same? Well, let's simplify 8 over 12. 8 over 12 simplified is, let's see, divide by 4, I'm going to get 2. 12 divided by 4, sorry, 12 divided by 4, I get 3. So 8 over 12, another way of saying 8 over 12 is 2/3. What about 10 over 18? Can I simplify that? Yes, I can. I divide that by 2. Can I divide by any other number? No. If I divide 10 by 2, I get 5. If I divide 18 by 2, I get 9. Can I simplify any further? No, I can't. So, are these two ratios the same? No. So they're not proportional. That's like one way of checking it, by the way. Okay, that's one way of checking it. Let's think about 5 over 5, 6, and 9 over 12. Let's see if these two are proportional. Well, they're proportional, right? We're setting the two ratios are equal to each other. Are they equal to each other? Well, 5, 6, can I simplify? No, I can't. What about 9 over 12? So 5, 6, and 9 over 1. What about 9 over 12? Can I simplify? Yeah, I can. I can divide 9 by 3. Divide 9 by 3 is 3. And if I divide 12 by 3, I get 4. Can I simplify any further? No, I can't. Now, are they equal to each other? They're still not equal to each other. So these are not proportional. Okay. But there's that. It was pretty easy. Oh my god. And I didn't record anything. No, I did. Oh, thank you. I thought I didn't record it. Okay, that's it.